There is a breaking news development coming in. In fact, friends, it's coming in from the war-torn Middle East, where the IDF has issued a statement, the Israeli Defense Forces, where they have said that a short while ago, with the direction of the IDF intelligence, the IAF, which is the Israeli Air Force, struck terror targets belonging to the Hezbollah terrorist organization in the Bekaa and several areas in southern Lebanon. Among the targets struck were buildings in which weapons were stored, command centers and additional terrorist infrastructure sites. During the strikes, secondary explosions were identified, indicating that large amounts of weapons and ammunition were stored in the buildings. This is a statement being attributed to the Israeli Defense Forces. They have carried out another round of air strikes in southern Lebanon, and reports suggest that once the missiles struck those targets, there were secondary explosions suggesting that those places were acting as ammunition dump. And that's what Israel has been indicating too, that the Hezbollah has been using civilian areas to hide its war stores, its weapons and ammunition, and even missiles and missile launchers from civilian neighborhoods, and that's why those have been targeted. Remember, yesterday Israel carried out a massive mass contact program where they issued hundreds and thousands of messages through mobile networks across southern Lebanon, asking civilians to evacuate. And in fact, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu came out and made a statement saying that Israel is not against the civilian population of Lebanon, but unfortunately the Hezbollah terrorist group uses civilians as shields, human shields, and that's why we have to act against Hezbollah and target those locations within civilian areas. That's why Benjamin Netanyahu said that civilians have been asked to vacate those pockets of southern Lebanon which have been hit today. Now, we have a live coming in from Israel. Haifa joins us live. And Haifa, if you could share with us what exactly made Israel go after Hezbollah. Was it, or is it seen as a preemptive strike? Was there some intelligence-based information available based on which these strikes have been carried out? And do we have an idea of the kind of objectives that have been achieved?
Hello, thank you for hosting me. First of all, we see that the Israeli intelligence worked very well with the pagers, with the walkie-talkies. And again, we see that far away from the Lebanese border with Israel, in the Bekaa, in Baalbek, which is like, a few dozen kilometers from the border, still Israel has a perfect intelligence to know where Hezbollah is hiding its weapons. And Hezbollah right now is quite shocked. We don't see yet tanks or infantry, Israeli ones, inside Lebanon. But let me remind you that also 1 year back in October, it took some time in which only Air Force worked, and only later on we saw Israeli boots on the Gazan ground. So I guess with Lebanon, it is like the same scenario. First of all, we need the Air Force to create the advantage for Israel. And later on, if we don't find a diplomatic solution, I guess infantry and tanks will also be inside Lebanon.
And do you suggest that the infantry would be going in southern Lebanon? Are you sure that Israel would be launching a ground offensive?
Again, if there is no diplomatic solution, because we have a diplomatic solution of 2006, and it means that all Hezbollah terrorists must be beyond the Litani River. And what happened is that, of course, Hezbollah is a terrorist group. They sent their nukhbas, their foot soldiers, to the border. I guess that if they give reliable promises to the international community that they will go beyond the Litani River, this war will be Hogaya, it will be stopped.
Okay, and the statement that was made by Prime Minister Netanyahu last evening, was it aimed at international audience to convince them that Israel is following all protocol and that before going for the strikes, you have already communicated to the civilians to evacuate so that only the terrorist organization and their operatives be targeted?
I think the first priority of Netanyahu is the civil population, the civilians and citizens of Lebanon, not the international community. Because even among the Shia community, Hezbollah enjoys like 70 to 75% of popularity. It means that even within Shia community, Hezbollah has like 1/4 of Shias who dislike Hezbollah. Among other communities, Sunni and Christians and others, Hezbollah is hugely unpopular, and I guess that when Netanyahu speaks, he speaks also to them.
And Lev, are we seeing more focus on southern Lebanon because Israel has decisively decimated Hamas, and that Hamas is no more a military threat in the southern part of Israel?
I think you put it well. Hamas can still kill our soldiers and still has our hostages, but it is a one-front war against Hezbollah. We have some foot soldiers in Gaza, but the best units and most of the soldiers are in the Lebanese border. Hamas right now cannot have a real impact on the arena. I agree with you.
All right, but Lev, where does it go from here? Like, are we seeing escalation building up, or are we seeing that the manner in which Israel has made sure that Hamas cannot repeat what they did last year? In fact, we are just completing 1 year in a few days from now. Similarly, in the case of Hezbollah, is it going to be a long haul in the northern part now?
Okay, so we have like 3 actors. One is Iran and its proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, and so on. Second player is Israel, and the third one is America, and we are like part of the, of the Western civilization, of the American fold, and so on. So I guess that right now it depends on Hezbollah if they are ready to give Israel some kind of assurance that our like half-lakh of residents of the northern border, they can go back to their villages, to their towns. It depends also on the level of relationship between Biden and Netanyahu, because we are banking on Americans both diplomatically and also in the military sphere. So, of course, we have the the DESI scenario, the domestic government, which is quite right-wing and is willing to go for a long war. And it depends on stability of the government. So we have like 3 players.